Ha ha. Ha ha. Ha ha. Ha ha. It is kind of a funny story. Ha ha. Ha ha.
He lives in a 4x2 glass box. It reminds me of my head. I wish my floor would have rocks, but it's covered with puddles instead. If I could be him, life would be great. I could erase this permanent frown. I wouldn't even be held down by my own weight. I woke up, walked to the tank to hear his thoughts on yesterday. How was it, I asked, and after a tap on the glass, he looked my way, then gave me this depressed expression and pressed his best just to say, besides the tides and the gray skies, it was okay. And I said, hey, Mr. Fish, you get all that you wish. You got nothing to complain about while hanging out in this bit. And he replied, well, existence is bliss. There's so much that you miss. Besides, get off the trip. Happiness is just a myth. I said, living in water is extremely more peaceful than life. You find it with mind blinded by the evil. I'm forced to see through these two peepholes. It seems I've redeemed freedom, not being limited by walls. But that only means I qualify as ground for the sky when it falls. That only means I qualify as ground for the sky when it falls. That only means I qualify as ground for the sky when it falls. That only means I qualify as ground for the sky when it falls. But Mr. Fish just laughed as I went on and on and on. So I interrupted his chuckle, putting up my middle finger. And he boldly told me it's too bad I'm such a thinker. So arrogantly I asked, how could someone think too much? He added that insanity lingers and thoughts brought me to the brink of such. He said you live inside a head that reminds me of my glass box. And everyone's the same, all brains are contained by a reality frame. And change with terrain, it's trained not to change. And once you see what I've explained, you hit the jackpot. Yeah, and at that very moment, it was like my eyes really opened. The air that previously surrounded me was now an ocean, still totally invisible except for minor pieces of debris. The Mr. Fish pushed up to the glass and he looked just like me. My whole world spun around, I didn't understand, but I realized I was no longer a man. So I thought about what he said and asked him what was going on. And he said, you didn't know it, but you were the fish all along. He said, congratulations, you did it, you broke free. You're just a fish, like the rest of humanity. Now it took me a long time to get adjusted to this tank, but now I know what I am. And so to that man I give thanks. I've always lived inside this glass box, it reminds him of his head. It just goes to show you that your mind is your own monster. Reality's what you make it, and if you take it away, you're just a fish like me, swimming in the powdered water. If someone grew up in a cubicle as Plato once suggested, they would only know the cubicle and not the world outside it. And they wouldn't view the cubicle as something geometric. We only know it's a cubicle because we live outside. Now the one inside the cubicle can't comprehend its measurements, cause measurements are models made of for and by observers relative to their position on the outside of the cubicle, to understand objectively so they can study further. If I grew up in a cubicle, the walls limit my universe. I have no knowledge of the entirety like the outsiders do. If you follow what I say and can swallow the powdered water, close your eyes and open your mind, this one's for you. The brain equals a cubicle, will never think outside it. I decide and why to try to tie a diagram or modify it. I'm a man that's a hybrid of a body, a pirate of a soul that can fly without control. Realize the brain takes in 6 billion signals per second, most of which are hidden and not given to the senses. We're limited to a few futile primitive tools of perception, living in a universal pool of first-hand deception. The mind's job is to receive the signals and block out the ones that don't coincide with imprinted symbols. That way the information you obtain is recognized. Reality is thinkable and comparable to space and time. It makes a map of the territory that gives us the topic of the Copenhagen interpretation of modern quantum physics. We states we don't know the meal, we only know the menu that our brain tells us is real. We don't know the rules of our heads. From inside these cubicles we can't see the truth. No one really knows exactly what happens when we think, therefore we can never really ever know anything.
This is the consciousness revolution. You got the right to think, don't think about it, just do it. This is the consciousness revolution. You got the right to think, don't think about it, just do it. This is the consciousness revolution. You got the right to think, don't think about it, just do it. This is the consciousness revolution. You got the right to think, don't think about it, just do it. This is the consciousness revolution. You got the right to think, don't think about it, just do it. This is the consciousness revolution. You got the right to think, don't think about it, just do it. This is the consciousness revolution. You got the right to think, don't think about it, just do it. This is the consciousness revolution. You got the right to think, don't think about it, just do it. This is the consciousness revolution. You got the right to think, don't think about it, just do it. This is the consciousness revolution.
Defined mind disorder. Symptoms include illusion, losing the tissue and fluid that borders the bruise, contorted to lose core of my aura, among other things that clutter dreams, and suddenly pull my swollen puppet strings, hold and clutch my utterly insecure back pedaling. Please pour the powdered water from the kettle and load my cup full of adrenaline. Now I can settle in tucked tight between sheetrock and crushed ice. She knocked, but I never let her in, despite the fact she looked nice in black sediment. My head isn't twisted upright, it leans lopsided, but eerie enough, I still treasure it dearly. Born in a vocal booth, I hope to own the moon with no excuse, soon to be the groom to a tune close to you. Sail the true stale ocean blue in 8 months, but corrosion grew for 8 months, and the Trojans threw a fake punch and a crow to fool them. I've sold my sanctuary, thank you very much. Buried all I carried for a vocabulary rush, and I don't wanna be around when the cherry busts, cause when it does, the suns will flood all of America. It might have been all over if you were to barely thrust, but you got greedy, punctured too deep, and now she's scared of trust. But who can you trust anyway? Every opinion stated by an experience, making thought a response to memory. I am my enemy, can't pick my way out of this penitentiary, or break the condition in humanity's mechanically accepted for centuries. It's the water, is it real? How does it make you feel? Being endlessly dependent on external crutches and shields, sleepwalking through the dust-covered fields, haunted by the taunted souls of those who kept the seals closed. I've stretched the distance and pushed the envelope. This song's become an endless note for all women and men with hope. Open your eyes, you no longer can float. You're sinking and drinking the powdered water, gon' make you choke.